Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. Today we are here to talk about India versus Hong Kong match which just got over. It was a crazy match for Indians because Indians started off pretty slow from there on. It was Surya Kumar Yadav's that innings. If you look in the end, was the differentiator between Hong Kong and India. If you guys remember the last time when India took on Hong Kong did give India a huge scare where India just managed to scrape a win in the Asia Cup by 24 runs. But yet again, no, Hong Kong put up a very fighting performance today as well. They never gave up. They scored more than Pakistan for the liking against India. They took on someone like an Avesh Khan. They targeted ballers pretty well. They got off to a very good start in the power play as well. Jaren, coming to you first up, India into the Super Fours. How pleased will India be at this very point?
I'll be very honest with you, Abel. I think Super 4 was just a formality, but they won't be very happy with how things have transpired today. It's not been a very good match for India. It was not as fluent as it looks on the scorecard. India struggled to come here, and they have let go of some key moments. That if a team which had much better pedigree than Hong Kong were given these kind of chances, they would have really changed the game there itself. But luckily for India, it was an associated nation, and that's probably why we see India scrape through. But
Yeah.
as on paper, it's not as easy, and I don't think Rohit Sharma towards the end of it didn't look a happy man.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it was not a fluent victory, as you rightly mentioned. And for example, for in a tournament like Asia Cup, you have to scrape through such wins as well. Now it's two on a trot. Even the victory against Pakistan wasn't the most convincing one. Today, Sanjay, coming to you, we are here to celebrate India's win. We are here to talk about, but we'll also have to talk about where India did go wrong. Right? Let's start off with that. Then we'll talk about the positives after that. Let's start off with where did India possibly go wrong. That start which India got was so unlike the modern day game demands. India were so timid. Rohit Sharma played a very good knock, in my opinion. 21 of 11 balls. I'll take that from any of my openers. If you are going to play in such a manner and get out, it's like live by the sword, die by the sword in this modern day and in this approach what they're taking. I'm totally fine with it. But then KL Rahul, Virat Kohli did manage to come back, and that's a proper Virat Kohli templated innings. How he used to play from 2016, 2015, that's just kind of strike rate. If you would have probably got the last one over, maybe you would have taken the score to 70 or 45, 46 balls, which would have looked very good on the scorecard. But then KL Rahul, 36 odd runs of 38 balls, strike rate below 100 against Hong Kong. What do you have to make of it? I want to talk about this because we had a discussion about this right before India's bowling innings, actually, and we were pretty critical about it even on the group.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. Virat Kohli played a Virat Kohli sort of a knock, and I think as much I would have liked KL Rahul to get back to form and score that 50 of 20 balls, it's just not happening for him even against a team like Hong Kong. I mean, KL Rahul of the past would have smacked 50, 60 runs of 20, 25 balls. Especially, but you have to give credit where credit is due because I think the Hong Kong spinners bowled brilliantly, especially Ehsan Khan. The veteran off spinner was spot on. He bowled all those difficult overs, 2 overs in the power play, 2 overs at the death. He nailed those yorkers, and he was very accurate. And so did I think my pick to my all rounder pick for the game. He too, like the opening. I just what was his name? I'm just getting confused. So even he, I think the both the
Was it
spinning duo.
Ayush Shukla?
No. Ayush Shukla did a very good job starting the
Murtaza, are
innings
you
for.
talking about Murtaza over here?
Yeah, I'm talking
Murtaza,
about
yeah.
Murtaza. Yasir Murtaza, even with the bat, I had seen that in the qualifiers he was the leading run scorer for Hong Kong. In the qualifiers, along with he had two match-winning knocks along with Babar Hayat and Nizakat Khan. And I was definitely pleased to see him ball so well. I think three of the Hong Kong bowlers were very economical.
Hmm.
Jerin mentioned one, Murtaza was one, and Ehsan Khan was one. I think if those 12 overs were kept aside, the other 8 overs went for plenty. I think over 100 runs, and that was the case for India as well. It was a rare off day for Arshdeep Singh, and Avesh Khan too traveled, like most of the days that he has been having in the Asia Cup and the series, bilateral series that he played before. So I
Yeah.
think they had two hard, like Avesh Khan has been having two now 3 4 hard games in a row right now. And talking about
Hmm.
KL Rahul, I think he was just not in the right form. He we understand he's coming back from a major injury and he has been off the ground for quite some time now.
Hmm.
But then again, a 36 run knock of 39 balls against Hong Kong. And especially when he was trying all sorts of shots, you could see KL Rahul trying to reverse scoop, reverse sweep, go for that sweep, go for that cover drive over, like that lofted shot over extra cover. He tried everything. It was just not connecting. Like he was just not timing the ball. And then eventually, and finally, thankfully for India, they finally got him out in the 13th over, because I think if he would have continued to struggle this way, I think retired out was the option that India would have looked
I mean,
looked
over
into.
here the question is, we spoke about KL Rahul in depth even yesterday, right? As to
Yeah,
whether is he going to be an open, and I actually put a point saying that, if you are going to have three players who are going to play similar style of cricket, it's possibly going to hamper you in some game. Today's game looked like it could have possibly backfired real bad, and India would have possibly ended up on 160, and that would have really given Hong Kong a push as well.
yeah.
160 on that board, Indian bowlers would have been under much more pressure. Today, Indian bowlers took it a little lightly. That's why you even had a Virat Kohli coming in and bowling, and Virat Kohli did a very good job also, I felt, with the ball on an off day like this for a couple of our bowlers. But here, we have a question already coming up. Will you drop KLR from the World Cup? I think he's talking about the World Cup, most likely than not, because in one day cricket
But
his
I
record
still think
is
it's too
fabulous.
early. He has just got two T20I games to look into. The one against Pakistan, he was just in the crease for that one delivery. In this game against Hong Kong, he was there in the crease for 39 balls, even though he struggled and he did not look to be in any sort of form whatsoever. But I think
Mm,
he'll sort of take this 36 of 39. Against a team in Asia Cup. If he would have
mm,
been happier if he would have scored it quicker against a team like Hong Kong, given that they are one of the minnows in this tournament. But
mm.
still, I think that 36 runs he'll take it gladly, because that's at least some runs that he can show for. And I think next time when he'll come to crease, he'll look a lot more comfortable. Even we saw
Absolutely.
this was the case for Kohli as well, because he took that initial time. He had a very nervous start against Pakistan coming back from that game. And once he sort of
Yeah.
settled in, and that time we could see that he was getting his shots going, and he
I
looked
mean,
way
for
more comfortable
example, for
tonight.
KL Rahul, I think it's just the mindset, because the couple of shots which he played, right, the 2-6 which he hit, it just looked like he can actually hit any ball out of the park. It's just that timid mindset at this point. His fear, definitely, he's fearing
Yeah,
failure at this point.
he's
Uh,
he's definitely
then,
fearing failure, given the fact that there are so many openers to take his place. If he sort of puts his pedals, like if it does not play this sort of knocks, like 50 of 20, 50 of 25, there are so many players in that Indian lineup who can take his place. And I think KL Rahul, it's getting into his head. Definitely he has been fearing to go for those big shots. The two sixes that he hit, one of them was off a free hit, and the
mm,
other one was a half volley onto his pads, and India were desperately looking to sort of accelerate. And if you will see that the balls right after the sixes, he was looking to just take that, nudge that single, and give the strike back to Kohli. And I think
right.
that is where India, they had a specific sort of a mindset coming into this game. They probably thought keep wickets in hand for the first 10, 12 overs, and then go after the bowling. It worked out for them tonight, but I don't think this is the way to go. You can't have two players trying to sort of anchor the innings and going at 6 runs, 7 runs per over against more aggressive teams like Afghanistan or Pakistan. You cannot try that over there. And I definitely feel that the pitch was there to score. I think 170 was a par if India would have played Pakistan or Afghanistan. Playing against Hong Kong, given that they did not have experienced bowlers, barring the the spinning duo that they had, I felt India would have been happy with 192 if you would have asked them at the start of the game, would you be
Mm,
happy with 192? But
mm,
definitely 15 overs 114, 13 overs 94, not the way to go, especially with
absolutely not
9
the
wickets
way.
or 8 wickets in hand.
True, true. I mean, there's no doubt about the template, right? We'll talk about Vish Khan, but then before that, let's address the bigger elephant in the room. It's KL Rahul's form, which has been a concern for India, and also we've been, associating him with different terminologies as well as a batter. Jen, coming to you, especially, KL Rahul. We've seen him how good he is in Australian conditions, as Sammy has rightly been mentioned. You know how he's a fine player in Australian conditions. He's got a good hook shot. He's very good off the back foot. He can cut the ball as well, and that the pace in Australian conditions are much more truer compared to a subcontinent. And is he going to really enjoy batting over there, considering his morale, considering the confidence right now he is in? Definitely, time spent in the crease is second to none. You can't really buy it anywhere. whatever 38 balls what you spent on the crease is definitely going to value in some way or the other in the next game he goes out to bat, as Sandeep rightly mentioned. So I just wanted to answer in two ways. Firstly, talking about the time spent on the crease, and secondly, talking about how is it going to affect his game in Australia, because Australian conditions he has always enjoyed playing there.
Well, I think KL Rahul is a class act, and when he gets going, all you can do is pause everything that you're doing, and you want to watch him play. And he whenever he plays, he takes the game by the scruff of its neck. But the issue that we saw today was the fact that this is not the KL Rahul we're used to. He was trying a lot of things, and none of it was coming through. And I think the point that Sandipani raised is exactly what is the issue with him: the fact that he is not the KL Rahul that we knew. He's not the brave soul that we knew anymore. He's not taking those risks. He's afraid of getting out. He's not playing the shots that are needed in the modern T20 cricket era. The fact that the two sixes that I mentioned, the one was simply a put me away ball and the other one was a free hit. But the fact that you saw him play those shots means that he has it in him. It's not that it's not gone away. It's the fact that there's a mental barrier. He doesn't want to take the risk. He doesn't want to get out, and that's not the kind of cricket that Indian team wanted. Rohit Sharma played a very good knock. We saw him go after the bowling, and Virat Kohli. Obviously, I think we can keep Virat Kohli aside because he's not in form. KL Rahul, I think the issue is he didn't even seem like he was trying. It just didn't seem like he wanted to go after the bowling. Virat Kohli, he tried a few shots. It just did not go his way till Suryakumar Yadav came to bat. In fact, I might even go on to say that the struggle that KL Rahul had on the other side just rubbed off on Kohli as well. Because the moment Suryakumar Yadav came in, it seemed like a weight was lifted off Kohli's back.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a lot. And as you mentioned, right, the time spent in the crease. I don't know if this was the most fruitful time spent on the crease, because it seemed like every ball he played, the more demoralized he got because he was not able to get anything out of the middle of the bat. This seemed like and once he got out, it seemed like he was put out of his misery, and that's just not the kind of time you want to spend on this pitch. But of course, I think Tammy's raised a very good point. The fact that I think he's supporting the Egyptian Moon Knight.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about that.
But yeah, and the fact that Tammy's mentioned the thing correctly. The fact that the ball will come much more better to KL Rahul's bat when he's playing in Australia will give play to his advantage. But the question that Indian team will be asking right now is, there are many openers who are knocking the door down. Will KL Rahul stay in the Indian lineup till that moment comes in? That remains to be seen. Of course, this management in particular, is very good at throwing that longer rope. But when will this rope end is the question, I think, and that all cricket fans are going to ask.
Absolutely, and that's going to be an interesting one as well, because some hard calls have to be made, because if you have to win a World Cup like this, you need some big players to be making way as well. So that's where Indian selection, Indian team management have to make those hard calls. Sandimani, coming to you especially on that, would you rather have these three batting in the World Cup, or would you drop one of them?
I think with the approach that Rohit Sharma has taken, I think they can still go with these three at the top of the order, because I definitely feel it was just not KL Rahul's day tonight, and
Mm.
he was really struggling against the spinners, which is very uncharacteristic of somebody of KL Rahul's caliber. He was coming
Mm.
down the track trying to go over the top. It was not coming off. He tried those reverse sweeps, which eventually turned out to be how he got dismissed. But definitely you can't take away the credit from Yasim Murtaza and Ehsan Khan, the way they bowled in the middle overs, and also to some point, I think the way Ayush Shukla started, that set the tone for the Bangladeshi bowlers to continue applying pressure. I think the third over went for 22 runs, but other than that, in the other 14 overs, India managed to score only 92 because they had only 114 in the first 15 overs. So that just goes to show that they were completely strangled in that middle period. And I think Surya Kumar Yadav came in, did something spectacular, the way he does, the number one batsman in the T20 world right now. He played a number one batsman sort of an innings, 26 balls, 68 runs, that saved India from major blushes. I think if this total if Surya Kumar Yadav had not been going, there was Rishabh Pant and Dinesh Karthik to follow, and both of them have not got an opportunity to bat in this Asia Cup. So potentially the wicket keeping options that India were looking to try haven't come off in the group stage. So they will have to experiment in the super fours as well, something which will not be ideal for India. And I know Surya Kumar Yadav at that point played one of the best T20I knocks, like he has been playing in recent times. But I definitely feel they could have even gone for somebody like a Rishabh Pant just to give him that game time. Because yeah, 160,
Mhm.
170, India would have still managed 160, 170. And even though Hong Kong managed well over 150 against India, which was very commendable. But you have to understand that India were not really trying at the very end. Like you rightly mentioned, Kohli came into bowl that 17th over.
Mm.
Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who was the pick of their pace bowling lineup, did not bowl his quota of 4 overs. They tried to give Avesh Khan a try in the death overs, because he was not really tested in the death overs in the game against Pakistan. Did not come off well for him. So I am very I'll be very interested to see whether he gets another game. Given this current management, I definitely know that he'll get another game against Pakistan
Also, I
this
think,
Sunday.
Salimani, if I may, I think they don't have many pacers in the lineup as
Yeah,
well.
they don't have
I
pacers,
mean, they
but
don't have any paces. The only pacer they have left right now is Deepak Chahar, who's on the reserves. They have to draft in someone like
Yes.
a Deepak Chahar
So I
to
think
but
that's
I don't
actually
think they
win.
are going to do that. They are going to do that. I think what they are going to do is the best way for India to go right now, according to me, is obviously Hardik Pandya is going to come in either for Rishabh Pant or for Dinesh Karthik. Most probably for Rishabh Pant, because they have trusted Dinesh Karthik for the game against Pakistan. So I think, and he was not tested. So I think Dinesh Karthik will get another chance, unless they decide to go with two left-handers. So I think definitely Hardik Pandya is going to come in for one of the wicket keepers, and then they can definitely drop Avish Khan. I've been saying this for the third game now. Bring in Ashwin, because
Right.
I don't. It's, you have to consider the fact that he is not in
I mean,
form.
yeah, we have a question on similar lanes as well from Teju, right? Credit to Hong Kong, they gave their best ball, but it's time to look beyond Avesh because it's his fifth or sixth game in a trot where he's not really looked good. I think it also has to do a lot with his confidence. His shoulders are really dropping pretty quick. Maybe you
mm,
can give him one more game, but a game against Pakistan on Sunday, maybe not. Maybe you would want to go in with someone like Ashwin, as Sandeep rightly mentioned. In a game like that, it's a crunch game, but at the same time, it'll also depend a lot on the pitch. Today's, I think, the last couple of wickets, it has not done anything much for the spinners, but spinners haven't done anything bad as well. So it's a kind of wicket where you
I think
really
spinners
want.
did a brilliant job. Jadeja in that middle period bowled his overs so quickly, in a typical Jadeja way, and just
Yeah,
considered 13 runs of those 4 overs. Even Chahal
yeah.
was okayish, like not at his best, but he did bowl
I
some good
think,
lengths, and in
and
that last over, he had couple of chances to get wickets as well. So I think even Chahal not picking up a wicket in the two games is going to be a concern for India, because he's the lead spinner. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Chahal is a world class bowler, and they are not going to definitely worry too much about it. But I definitely feel to bring in Ashwin at this point, because I don't think they're going to bring in Ashwin in the game against Pakistan. If they would have brought him in, I think these two games were the chances. Because let's consider the fact, if Pakistan makes it to the final and definitely the Super Fours, then India is going to play Pakistan 3 times. And which game do you want? If India has to lose one game against Pakistan, which game would you want India to lose to Pakistan against? Definitely not in the Super Fours and the final. You would want, even if they would have lost in the group stage, I think it would have been okay if they could have
Mm,
tried and experimented with some of the options that like they could have looked into at least. So I think they missed a trick
makes
over
sense.
there, because we know Dravid, at other times he has been very experimental. He has given a lot of players opportunities, but
Yeah.
he has tried to keep the same balance when it comes to ICC tournaments, or the bigger tournaments, so as to speak. Because if I remember the under 19 World Cup that Dravid was the coach in, India had a spectacular season with Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw, all doing a fabulous job, and India did not make any changes throughout the World Cup. I think only 12 players played in those 4 or 5 games. So Dravid
Mm.
in big tournaments, he does not like to make too many changes, which is not wrong. But if you had to experiment ahead of the World Cup, these 2 games were your opportunities, because I won't want to see them experiment in a crucial game where these changes sort of factor into Team India winning or losing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the best opportunity for India to actually experiment as well. But then, if we have to talk about experimenting against Pakistan, Jen, coming to you, would you drop Avesh Khan or not? Because it's a point to be considered over here, right? We talk about giving long rope to batters. would you give a long route to a bowler as well when he's struggling? Because you need him to get back into confidence. He is one of your backup pacers for the World Cup as well. You'll definitely have a Harshal Patel back in the squad, but still, Avesh Khan is still part of your system, still part of the considerable selection as well for the World Cup. So would you give him confidence, or would you just drop him?
I think for the Asia Cup, at least he won't be dropped. I really don't see because the issue being they don't have another pacer in the squad itself. Even if they want to replace Avesh Khan, at least in this Asia Cup squad, they don't have anyone. And I really don't think if they are dropping Avesh Khan, they'll bring someone in from the reserve because that's just
Hmm.
going to obliterate whatever confidence he has left.
Hmm.
So I think for the Asia Cup, at least he'll be playing playing all the matches. Even after the Asia Cup, if Avesh Khan doesn't show any improvement, I think that'll be the end of a rope that of the rope that he's been getting for so long. And if he doesn't do well by the end of this Asia Cup, then I really don't see him featuring in this Indian team for a long time because once that rope runs out, you've seen how much this Indian management is impatient. Once the rope runs out, then you're just completely out of the mix. Then it's very
Yeah.
difficult to make a comeback, and that's what I'm worried for Avish. But for me, at least Asia Cup, I won't drop him. I don't think the team management will drop him, but I would. I really feel if you want to drop Avish Khan, you better drop him now because
Hmm.
you better make it clear what I is he good enough for your T20 squad? And as of now, I feel there are other pacers who might feature in that 11 who might do a better job, and I think it's better to get them in. But then the way the squad has been selected, I really don't know. I really don't think Avesh Khan will be dropped. I really don't see space for him to be dropped. Then I think Sandipani mentioned that Bhuvneshwar Kumar got only 2 overs. I think there is another factor to it. The fact that they wanted to give him that amount of rest.
I mean, I'd
I
also bring an interesting point over here. If you look at Rohit Sharma's T20 setup, right? Rohit Sharma's T20 philosophy. I'll compare him with Mumbai Indians. He's never played with three spinners. He always goes with three paces, and that's been his
Yeah,
philosophy. And he's always never it's he'll rather not go in with even a spinner. At times he has gone with
yeah. I
four
think
pacers, one
three
spinner as
spinners
well.
is three spinners is something that is a philosophy which is disappearing in the modern cricket. In modern cricket, unless the pitch is so much inclined towards the spinners, you don't see three spinners anymore.
Hmm.
If you have quality fast bowling, I'm not talking about
Unless you are
nations
Sri
like
Lanka or Afghanistan.
yeah, that's my point. So if you don't have quality fast bowling, then you don't. If you have quality fast bowling, then you don't see that philosophy
Hmm.
anymore. So the only teams that have that philosophy are teams which don't have quality fast bowling, and so
Yeah.
that's a philosophy which is completely disappearing. That's the reason why I feel Ashwin is a very good player, and especially in the previous IPL. He started flighting the ball a lot more. He's trusting his stock delivery a lot more, which is exactly the Ashwin that I love to watch, and that's the reason
Hmm.
why Ashwin hasn't been doing as well is because he started, darting the ball in. But the moment he starts to flight the ball, it looks better. But in this setup, in this team, because Jadeja is doing a good enough job, even Jadeja is not getting his full quota of overs. So then you bring in Ashwin. I really don't see that happening. The only reason why Jadeja got his full quota of overs is because Hardik Pandya is not there, and they needed someone to
Hmm.
ball. But
Hmm.
aside from that, even when Jadeja himself, your second spinner is not getting full 4 overs, then where will Ashwin fit in? And the only reason what you're doing is then you're dropping Avesh Khan and you're just declaring that Avesh Khan is not going to feature in a T20 team, which
Right.
I think Indian management not ready for.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point as well. I'll take some comments now because I've already getting complaints and I'm not taking the chat. So I'll take from Shanwari Ahmed. I'll have to address a bigger issue over here. See, guys, I'm not supporting Pakistan. This is Moon Knight. He's a superhero from Marvel. And Priyanka has rightly mentioned Abel's second personality supports Pakistan. Definitely not, guys. Now, don't bring this Moon Knight analogies as well. Uh, if you have to compare cricketers with Marvel heroes, I think that's a different episode and altogether. Someone has already put us as Marvel heroes. Um they've said Sandibani is Jaren and Falcon, Sandibani and Iron Man. Very interesting, very interesting. I like that. Um now, Salvini, I think I've taken your question. Can India win the Asia Cup? But before that, when Shafiqullah just clarifying, there's Moon Knight and not Pakistan. I don't want people to be going mad at me on Twitter, man. I mean, like, yeah. So, yeah, coming back to the point, we've got a very interesting question right here. Are finger spinners tentative nowadays? I mean, it's a point which a lot of pundits have also risen. For example, even you saw Jadeja, right? He was very tentative in actually tossing the ball up. He was only balling arm ball to the left hand batsman, and to the right hand batsman, he was actually flighting the ball up and wanting the ball to turn. And with Ashwin also, you've seen that even as Jen rightly mentioned, he was tossing the ball up. He was only tossing the ball up to left-handers in the IPL. To right-handers, he did not bowl a
Yeah.
single off spinner, if I'm not wrong, except to Rajat Patidar in that game against RCB where he tossed the ball up and Rajat Patidar got caught on the long on. Other than that, his number of off spinners to right-handers are less than 10 deliveries in the entire IPL. So you can imagine why off spinners are pretended. He's got a very good carrom ball, but he doesn't trust that against the right-handers. Of course, the dynamics of grounds and different things. You saw in the game against Pakistan as well. Nawaz did not ball to Jadeja because of the very reason, because left-handers would like to slog you over square leg. Coming to you, Sandipani, on this question, do you see off spinners slowly fading away because of this very reason? Because as long as they are pretty tentative. Today you saw Murtaza do a very good job bowling at 75 to 80 kilometers per hour, and batsmen had to make pace. Still the very old school kind of bowling is so effective. Virat Kohli and KL Rahul struggled because of that pace. He was looking the most
Yeah.
threatening bowler. Though did not
Yeah.
get both Virat Kohli and KL Rahul, but you couldn't get him away because you had to make pace.
Yeah, definitely. I think finger spinners are tentative these days because you already covered most of the points. But what I feel is for tonight's game, I think for Hong Kong they had two completely different spinners. One, Ehsan Khan was bowling at 100 kilometers per hour. He was
Was
more
he a
like
medium
Jadeja.
pacer or a spinner? That's my question.
He's more of a Afridi sort of a bowler. He'll come in hard at you like he's supposed to be a off spinner, but it looked more like a medium pacer. So yeah, Ehsan Khan was bowling at 100. He was just darting those Yorkers, and he was just getting not trying to get under the bat so that the batsman could loft him up for four boundaries. So I think he was very clever in keeping it under the bat, and he was bowling those Yorkers pretty well, and he was bowling outside off. I think the last ball of the 19th over, which no, I think last ball of the 17th over, which Surya Kumar Yadav left it, thinking it would be a wide. It was one of the best deliveries to see,
Yeah.
which most of the pacers try to execute in the later half of the game. A wide
Hmm.
Yorker and
Yeah.
flirting with the trump line. So I think that was brilliantly bowled. I think that was a brilliant over from Ehsan Khan. All the experience brought into his game. Brilliantly bowled the power play, brilliantly bowled in the death overs. But when you talk about who was more effective, I think definitely agree with you. Murtaza looked more like picking up the wicket because he was deceiving the batsman in flight, and that we don't see nowadays. Because for one example, if you want to consider for India, I think Kuldeep Yadav in his early days used to bowl at 70-75 kilometers per hour. He used to rely on his finger, on the spin, on deceiving the batsman in the flight, and he used to get huge turn both ways. But as days went by, I think the coach, the management, the coach, everybody came in and told Kuldeep Yadav that you have to bowl a bit faster. If you bowl at 70-75, batsmen are going to wait, and then they are going to play you on the back foot. And I think he has made a great adjustment. But
Hmm.
Murtaza today he bowled according to the pitch, because I think the pitch was holding up a bit, and bowling at 70-75 kilometers per hour, he was giving batsmen to play with no pace, so they had to generate all that pace. And esp- that is very difficult, especially if you are getting deceived in the flight. Both the Indian players, Virat Kohli and KL Rahul, tried to come down the pitch and take the ball on the full, but they were getting deceived on the flight, so they were not getting any momentum on the shot, and the ball was just landing short of long on and deep mid wicket, and they were just scoring singles. The boundaries were really hard to get by. So KL Rahul and Kohli had to try sweeps, reverse sweeps, and I think that is why Surya Kumar Yadav is so effective, that he can play any shot on a particular delivery. If you ball that full length sort of a delivery, he can sweep you in deep square leg. He can flick you towards mid wicket. He can play the straight batted shot in the V region, and he can definitely loft you over covers. So he can play all sorts of shots to a single type of a delivery. Whereas KL
Hmm.
Rahul tonight was looking to Hoik. He was just trying to slog it. He was trying to come down the pitch, trying to slog early on. When it did not become successful, he was definitely trying to get that reverse sweep shuffling around, but nothing worked for him. So yeah, I think it's definitely the finger spinners are definitely becoming very sort of rare these days. Effective spinner is becoming very rare, because nowadays we don't see more of those orthodox off spin deliveries getting you wickets in the shorter formats of the game. In the
Hmm.
longer formats of the game, of course, it is very prevalent, but in the sort of shorter formats of the game, you won't see a Nathan Lyon, Ashwin as destructive as they are in the test format, because
True.
consistency and maintaining a particular discipline, particular maintaining a particular line and length is not so effective in T20 cricket anymore, because the batsman can, we saw in that last over that Arshdeep Singh bowled, he bowled two of the perfect yorkers that you could have seen. One was flicked towards the square leg, and one was sliced beyond third man and point for boundaries. So I think
Mm,
that really leaves the bowler very demotivated. So
mm,
definitely it's a concern for all the off spinners and the finger spinners in particular. So
absolutely.
we nowadays we see more of mystery spinners coming in, making the rounds, and those orthodox leg spin delivery and the Chinaman
True,
people.
true, true, absolutely.
No, I mean, even if I may, I'll add to it.
Mm,
It's simply about what the batsman is trying to do, right? In white ball
right.
cricket, the batsman is trying to stay under the ball a lot more, and he's
Yeah.
trying to since he's trying to hit the ball in the air. While in the
Mm,
test match, batsman is trying to be above the ball, defend the ball and keep
right.
preserve his wicket. So when you're trying to
Right.
do that, so that's the reason why in test you see ballers flighting the ball up a lot more, because it's difficult to stay under the ball when the ball is above your eye line. But
Yeah.
in white ball cricket, when the batsman was trying to go under, if you flight the ball too often, what you end up doing is you allow the batsman, you play into the batsman's hands, right? As he's trying to get under the ball, a flighted ball
Mm,
is easier to get underneath, and that's why that's the reason why you look at someone like a Chehel. We spoke about Chehel earlier, but what I felt Chehel today was trying to experiment a lot. One of the commentators did remark that he's trying to get the ball that is, the ball that he pushes from the front of
yeah.
his hand, the quicker leg spinner a lot, and that's what he was trying a lot. So he didn't look to get wickets today. It was like he's facing batsmen in the nets, and that's the idea.
Mm,
So I won't rate him in
yeah.
today's performance. But what Chehel does very intelligently is he mixes it up, right? He has that
Mm,
quicker one. He flights the ball as well, and that's what you need in white ball cricket. At the end of the day, you have to, be unpredictable in white ball cricket because the batsmen
yeah.
are unpredictable. Test
Yeah.
match, you need a lot more line and length, and I think
Yeah.
that's where even someone like an Ashwin is failing, right? He's being too predictable by trying to dart the ball in.
Yeah.
And batsmen in today's game are not going to get worried if you ball at 110 kilometers per hour as
Right.
a spinner.
Right.
They are
Absolutely.
worried if you're changing the length or changing the speed and all
I
that.
mean, for me, I thought Chehal was so effective during IPL because there were some of his balls which are 69 k's an hour. So you can just imagine how slow it is and how much a batter has to make pace to clear the ropes as well. So for me, you have to be attacking as a spinner, and as a spinner, your job is to pick up wickets and also control. In T20 format, there are two schools of thought, right? Either you can be 1 for 20 in 4 overs, or none for 20 in 4 overs. It's a very good job, or you can be 3 for 35, 3 for 40, and it can be a very good job as well. So there are two schools of thought. Ashwin certainly believes in the first part
Former
school
one.
of thought, which certainly believes that he should be like 4 for 20, and he admitted it on his channel as well. If you guys follow Ashwin's channel, he did admit it one of the times. Where a spinner can be 4 for 20, no 4 overs 20 runs without no wicket and do a very good job. So it's all part of tactics, all part of the game dynamics as well as to how you really conceive and perceive a game as well. So for Ashwin, he believes in the former part of it, and for someone like a Chehal, he believes in the latter part of it. But I don't want Chehal to change from it as well. So that's going to be a
And
very
I think that
catastrophic
is
thing.
why we have been praising the Hong Kong duo. None of them, both of them went wicketless, but both of their economy rates were below 7 in a
Yeah,
game where India scored at 9.6 runs per over.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that just
and
goes to show how effective they were, how smart they were with their
yeah,
operation. And
yeah.
I think they were a bit unlucky as well. I think Murtaza and Ashan Khan deserved wickets to show for their
True.
bowling efforts, but they will take this against a strong Indian batting lineup. KL Rahul, Kohli got deceived in their flight, and that is a very good sort of a thing to go away home with.
I mean,
Yeah.
truly. I mean, thank you, Michael, for that. I don't even know how to comment on such a question, to be very honest. Because if you're encouraging a certain gender to watch cricket because of us, I mean, or talk or get addicted to sports podcasts. I mean, now if you're talking about women's sports are at its peak, let it be any across the world. So that's one of the reasons why. And Natasha says, yeah, thank you for that. It's very, very, it's very nice of you people. Uh, yeah. Thank you for that. But yeah, now going in with the question of can Virat open the batting or not? It's a very interesting point because some of them truly believe that Virat and Rohit should open the batting. If you remember in the last T20 against England in 2021 in Ahmedabad, Virat and Rohit did open the batting for once and they scored 224 runs. Whereas Rohit Sharma scored a quick 550 and Virat Kohli scored a 70 odd runs. And you saw there was clear chemistry between both. They were ready to take on the ballers from the word go. They were complementing each other. And you know the kind of partnerships they've had in ODI cricket as well, right? They always like going, they always like to play and complement each other. Even against Pakistan, one would say that partnership. I saw a lot of pundits on online come out and say that partnership actually was the reason why India had to take the game so deep. If that partnership wouldn't have been there, if India were three down in the first 6 overs, it would have been catastrophic. You people would have been the same pundits. I mean, it's to all the pundits out there, guys. I'm actually pointing out. I would want to take those channels' names. It starts with S and ends with second name is also with T. You know who I'm talking about. These are the same people who called Dinesh Karthik the part-time cricketer. These are the same people who called for example,
Kelvin
Virat
Jackson.
Kohli's front foot as which front foot. You know who I'm talking about. It's a thing out to them. There are same people who said UAE pitches are going to be low and slow. I really want to say, man, if you can't comment, please don't. Don't at least make create different ideologies and create hate, because they've been trying to create agenda propaganda. And as a channel, we don't want to do that. I know at this point I'm being very personal, but then there's something which I want to put out there as well. That partnership of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, though Rohit Sharma got out for like 12 runs, and Virat Kohli, it was combined runs of 18 of it was combined of 53, I think, or 55 balls or 47 balls. That was their combined score, but I would have taken that any day. I just want Jaren your
I
opinion on
think
that as
everybody
well.
would have taken that any day. We mentioned it in the last day as well, because those are your top three. You expect your top three to perform, and India has not been having their top three to consistently perform over the last year or so. So any contribution from them in a match winning effort in a tricky situation is a commendable effort. And even today, I was very happy that you mentioned that you are very happy with the fact that Rohit Sharma played that 13 ball 21 run knock, because that was necessary. KL Rahul was really struggling at the other end. So Rohit Sharma very selflessly decided to go for it. He could have sort of said, okay, yeah, he's not getting it. Even I'll take some time to settle down and then eventually go after the bowling. But he very selflessly decided, okay, one of the batters have to go. We have played 3-4 overs, and
Yeah.
he went after the bowling. And I think that is the way to go about it. That is why I was a bit frustrated with the fact that KL Rahul and Virat Kohli, I mean, there was intent, but they were not getting to get those balls away. So they were really struggling at that middle part of the game. From over 6 to 13, there was hardly any boundaries. And one aspect of the game today was, even Virat Kohli was rotating the strike. Even KL Rahul was finding it difficult to rotate the strike frequently. They were having way too many dot balls for their own liking against
Mm,
against a team like Hong Kong. So I
mm.
think that was a bit concerning for me. But again, they were
Yeah.
trying it after the
Yeah.
10
At the
overs.
same
I
time,
think.
as I mentioned about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli's partnership, in a chase, that's fine if you're chasing a smaller total. But
Yeah.
today's partnership of Virat Kohli and KL Rahul is something which I'm not agreeing up to, because when you're batting first, you should be batting at a certain tempo. And this modern day game really demands that.
And I
You
think with
should have been
players like Rishabh
220.
Pant, Dinesh Karthik, Surya Kumar Yadav to follow, they had nothing to fear. Even Jadeja can come in and have the like play those interesting cameos of 10, 15 ball, 30, 40 runs. So I think they had nothing to fear about. But I was a bit disappointed with the approach initially. But I would take nothing away, because India was 74-1 at the end of 10 overs, and they scored 122 in the last 10 overs, thanks to Surya Kumar Yadav, definitely. But there was intent from KL Rahul as well. Even though he was not getting it going, he was trying to score the runs. That is what that matters. I don't want to see both the players rotating strike and saying that we will take the game till the 12th 13th over, one boundary per over is okay. This is modern times, and I think right now one boundary per over is sometimes not even enough. If you are playing in England or Australia, especially in Australia, I think you are going to have some beautiful tracks to bat on, and I think 230, 240 will be achieved by lots of teams in the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Australia, people say that it's going to be extra bit of bounce, but if you have been watching BBL, there have been some really high scoring games as well. But Jaren, we'll talk about Australia later on. But Ranka Rajappa, I don't know if you want, you can take the name. I did not say which channel it is. I just want to say that. So yeah, going ahead about that, about Indian batting, Virat Kohli opening. Do you still consider that Virat Kohli opening, or would you say that Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul should continue opening?
Well, I mean, I have been very vocal about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli opening. I think it's T20 cricket. It's this mantra that your best two batsmen should get the most deliveries. And I think, in terms of pedigree, I'm not, no disrespect to KL Rahul, but, the fact that Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, the way they have played and the way they have performed, they are the best batsmen that India has to offer. KL Rahul has a long way to go. So I think for that reason itself, they both of them can open the innings. And you know, the issue is, as I mean, as you guys are saying, I mean, obviously they have the issue of not being able to get those boundaries early. But at least, in cricket, strike should be. I mean, you should be able to rotate the
Yeah,
strike.
yeah.
That's the difference between two batsmen and two tailenders batting together, right? You
Mm,
shouldn't have a collection of dot balls coming together, and it's gonna get very difficult otherwise. The fact that Rohit Sharma and KL, I mean Virat Kohli at least have this chemistry between them. They're very good when it comes to running between the wickets. That itself can put pressure on the fielding team and the bowling team. And we've seen so many good, the best partnerships that Indians have had. Indian batsmen are not usually the ones who are very, I mean, aggressive. Hardik Pandya is a new breed. Or Rishabh Pant is a new breed. But the breed that Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli come from, they are the kind of players who are very good at milking runs. And that is something that I feel now KL Rahul for me is getting stuck between two minds. He's either trying to rotate strike or he's either trying to, play agricultural strokes. And it is
mm,
not working out for him. That's the reason why I feel also what allows you to do when Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli come in, you can play at a slower tempo. And the reason I say that is because then you can insert Rishabh Pant. So even if
mm,
you have a 40 run power play, but if the wickets are safe, then you can have someone like Rishabh Pant. Then you look at your middle order. You have Suryakumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, Dinesh Karthik, Hardik Pandya. Which bowler in the world would want to face this middle order? You
mm,
get Hardik Pandya out, you have Dinesh Karthik come in, you have Rishabh Pant
mhm.
come in. This is not any. This is the middle order suddenly strengthens, and that kind of allows these two batters to play their natural game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even I am totally in sync with Jaren over here because I was a huge, huge advocate of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma opening, even for the last World Cup. I don't know why it did not happen because even Virat Kohli made it very clear after that match. Virat Kohli will be the one who will be opening the batting. At that point of time, even KL was dropped from the side. Um, Virat Kohli, Vikrant Chacha says Virat Kohli is a slow batter. Vikrant wants to know your location, which field to use. Vikrant Chacha says you guys are part-time YouTubers and full-time human beings. I like that one. I'll take that one. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was the
that
best
was
of the
nice.
three.
Yeah, yeah. To
I
be
think my
honest, we
rhyme.
are. He is. Vikrant Chacha says that. I'll take it, man.
Yeah.
Vikrant. I mean, absolutely,
I
Vikrant
mean,
Chacha.
Nabil, if Vikrant Chacha says that, I think we'll become some very good YouTubers. I
I mean,
mean,
yeah. If Vikrant Chacha takes our name, we'll be definitely famous for sure. So I hope Vikrant Chacha takes our name at some point. I don't even know who Vikrant Chacha is. You guys know. I'm not gonna take. I did not say it was Vikrant Chacha, guys. I did not say. I just said certain lines of who are the pundits who are like really going against that innings of 53, combined innings of 53. But in this kind of in modern day game, you get such knocks and you have to deal with it in pressure situations. But today's knock is something which I'm not definitely in terms. Well, I'm not agreeing to India. I'm not agreeing the way in which KL Rahul batted as well. But let's move away from India's game. Final thoughts on Hong Kong. Can they really give Pakistan a run for the money or not? Sandeep Bani and Jaren, quickly.
I think it's very interesting to see. It will be very interesting to see how they come up against Pakistan because I think the spinning duo is very impressive. Followed by their opening bowler, I think Ayush was his name. I think
Mm.
Ayush
these three
Shukla, I think.
bowlers. Yeah,
Ayush
Shukla.
Shukla.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ayush Shukla.
Shukla,
Yeah, so
Shukla.
these three bowlers were very effective tonight, and I liked how they bowl. I liked
Mm.
how they operated. They were very clever with their choices of length and line to the Indian batters, knowing very well what they liked and what they really struggled in. And I liked how, and it's a very experienced Hong Kong team. You have to realize that the Hong Kong team, that they don't have too many pool of players to choose this top 11 from, but they have these 11 players are more or less consistent, have been consistent in the last four games in the lead up to the Asia Cup. And in the last 3 months Hong Kong has played a lot of cricket. They have played close to 30 games, and they have had a positive result overall when you look at it. And I think if they could manage to sort of stem India's run flow in those middle overs, they can definitely do that for Pakistan as well. Given you have to, if Hong Kong can somehow dismiss Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan early, I think we have a game on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, I will also put my money on Babar from the other side. Babar Hayat. He's such a
Babar
such a
Hayat,
fine
yeah.
player. So I think it's gonna be Barber rivalry, Barber derby, and which Barber will win. I'm saying one of the Barber is gonna win. So you can think which Barber is gonna win. So definitely one Barber is gonna be definitely happy at the end of that game. It's gonna be day after tomorrow. I think it's
So
tomorrow
we
already
definitely
because
have two potential knockouts, like two
yeah,
quarterfinals. One can say it's
yeah,
Pakistan versus Hong Kong, and then Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Aisha is pretty confident that her team is gonna win, and
I mean, they
no,
should
no,
win.
yeah, if Hong
Yeah,
Kong
but
can take in
this
team,
Hong Kong team, I think what this Hong Kong team lacks in skill and experience. They made up for clever bowling. The
hmm,
way Rohit Sharma was dismissed was excellent bowling. I mean, the fact that he realized Rohit Sharma is trying to go after him. He's a 19-year-old kid, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
That slower ball, chest high, was just amazing.
and
And
with the keeper
obviously,
standing up, so that like
yes,
with the keeper
correct.
standing up, you don't expect too many short deliveries.
Exactly. That's exactly what he did. And then the fact that that ball was balled at 119 kilometers per hour, but it
yeah.
climbed up. It
But
climbed up on
it
Rohit
also
Sharma.
took Rohit Sharma by surprise. He was on the back foot.
Yes,
Rohit Sharma was well set
yes,
up for that shot, but then
correct.
that pitch. That's where it's weird. One of some of those, especially the ball to KL Rahul as well. It had that extra bit of bounce. When you actually give reps on
Yes.
the ball, it just stands up on you, and that's
Yeah.
what took Rohit Sharma by surprise. It hit the maker's name as they say it, and that's why it just
Hmm.
popped up in the air. And the first ball which went to Virat Kohli as well, it could have been a cotton ball. It just
Yeah.
It
stopped
was
on
another
him,
slower one.
and
I think it just held up
yeah.
on the pitch.
Yeah, so if the matches are going to be in Dubai on Sharjah, it's going to be very interesting to see because you're seeing different kind of pitches. Today's pitch was still a true one. Initially, it was a little sticky, but then after that, it got very good for batting. That's why you saw quality stroke making. For example, Avesh Khan's slower ball, which I think it was hit by who was the player who hit that cover drive over
Yeah,
cover.
over covers. I think that was one of the best shots.
Yeah, I'm
Who
not
was
getting
it?
who it was. But yeah, that was one of the best shots of the day as well, for example. And that's where I totally think that today's pitch was very good. Right now we'll move to the next game, which we have tomorrow. It's a knockout. It is a knockout for all the reasons because who wins tomorrow will go to Super Four, so who loses will go back to their home. And that's why I feel, next 2 days you have two big knockouts. I don't consider the day after tomorrow one. All respect to Hong Kong. I certainly consider Pakistan to be the favorites to win against Hong Kong for that one. But tomorrow's game is a very even contest.
I was very
Barbecue,
sorry, just to cut you off. I was very impressed by the keeper as well, the Scotland keeper. I
yeah,
We did not mention about him. He was brilliant behind the stumps. He was very quick to whip the bells off whenever he saw any opportunity, and with the bat as well. That innings,
mm,
that lower order innings with the bat. Uh, s- like I think he was the one who smacked Avesh Khan over covers for that six, and
mm,
I think brilliant batting from both the lower middle order batsmen. I think it was Scott McEnkey.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
Uh,
Scott McEnkey.
Kudos to him.
Especially
Very
the
good
way he
keeper,
came
very good
towards the end
batsman.
when he played. Yeah.
I mean,
He played.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, there is no doubt about it. Let's talk about tomorrow's game because for Bangladesh, they are coming off a loss which really took them by surprise for sure because they definitely were in control of the game as we discussed yesterday. For Sri Lanka, a huge loss against Afghanistan as well. Let's talk about Sri Lanka first up because that's one squad which we all loved, right? I mean, that's one squad which we all expected them to go on and do huge things in this tournament, but they did not. It's something which is very sad, but I expect them to actually come back and do well as well because I personally rated this team to be one of the best teams of the tournament because of a lot of reasons. Number one being, they were a team who really showed a lot of potential before the start of the Asia Cup as well. You saw it in that series against Australia where they were very good, where they were pretty confident in terms of the way in which they played. They really showed they really meant business in that series. But here, coming to Asia Cup, it's a big tournament. The pressure is going to be on you and everybody's going to watch. It's a multinational tournament as well. The same thing happened with them during World T20 as well. They had a lot of potential. I expected them to really fire, but they did not. That's where I am a little disappointed with the kind of performance which Sri Lanka put in. Jaren, your thoughts on Sri Lankan lineup and what can be the possible changes? I'll pull out the squad meanwhile as you are going to talk about Sri Lankan team.
Well, I think tomorrow's match, you probably didn't expect it to be this low key. These are two very good teams. They have a very good track record when it comes to Asia Cup, both Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. But they've really struggled in the recent past. I think the stats here that I've found is since 2019, Bangladesh and Sri Lankan batting have averaged, I think, below 20, if I'm not wrong. They're the only full member nations who are doing that. And even their boundary percentage is pretty low. So this seems like a very difficult era for Pakistan. I mean, not Pakistan. I beg your pardon for Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Looking at Sri Lanka lineup, I think last time when we spoke, we had agreed that we require someone like a Dinesh Chandimal to come in. We require a bit of an experience, some anchor role, a batsman who can play an anchor role. When they lose those 3 wickets quickly is probably what they need, because the way I see it is this team. If I look at this team right now, I think there are a lot of players who can play those breezy innings. You have Rajapaksa, Pathum Nisanka who can play innings like that, but you don't have anyone who can play a 15 over innings, and that's the reason I feel where the downfall for this team came up. Like if you look at Bangladesh innings, right? Bangladesh were in similar position against Afghanistan, but I think the key there was someone like Mohammedullah Riyad, right? The fact that he came in, he of course you wouldn't say by T20 standards his innings is great. I think he scored some 25 or
Mm.
27, but
Yeah.
the reason, but he came in there and he stopped the stem of the flow of wickets. He held one end, and no matter with the format and no matter how cricket evolves, that is one skill that any batsman or any lineup requires, and that's something
Yeah.
that this Sri Lankan team might get if they bring in Dinesh Chandimal. Dinesh
Yeah.
Chandimal's had an issue with playing a rash shot here and there. If we can cull
Mm.
that, I think this team will look better. Also,
Mm.
still I feel the Sri Lankan team, what we saw against Afghanistan was just a very good Afghanistani team, taking them by surprise. I
Yeah.
think I think a this Sri Lankan team has the potential, and you might see a better performance from them.
Yeah.
The reason I rate them higher than the Bangladeshi team is simply because they look like a team. At least individual members in that team are coming off some confident, league. I mean, private league or rather franchise league performances. Something like a Wanadu Hasaranga, for
Absolutely.
example. They're
Absolutely.
coming up from a little bit more confidence, compared to this Bangladesh squad, which has struggled a lot, except for maybe Mossadegh Hussain. I don't think anyone could have actually held their head high after that inning,
Mm.
the match
I
against
mean,
Afghanistan.
Mushtaq Hussain is coming off after a very good BPL as well. Now, I would really want Sandeep to look at the Bangladesh squad. It's something which we already discussed. We had a huge whole episode on how Bangladesh squad should look like, and even yesterday's episode, we were pretty vocal about who should be opening the batting for Bangladesh. If you have to, if you have to, analyze it objectively, Sandeep there's a comment for your teddy bear. I don't know what you have a teddy bear there. That's nice.
It's my
Okay.
mother's teddy bear, so I just keep it in.
Yeah,
It just
we don't
stays
want to
over
get
there
distracted
every
from
day.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, um, when we actually talk about this particular team, right? We really want a differentiator in the opening slot. Can that be Mehdi Hasan Miraj? Now looking at the squad, who do you see opening the batting tomorrow? Because Anamul Haq and Mohammad Naeem looks like pretty one-dimensional cricketers. Like as we spoke about KL Rahul and Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma batting together as well. These players can really hamper your innings as well in the long term.
Yeah, see, first of all, I think Anamul Haq will have to make way for Shabbir Rahman. That is the first change and probably the only change that I'll like uh, Bangladesh to make from the last game. Other than that, I think some of the captaincy ploys that Shakib Al Hasan took in the last game did not come off for him. He tried to go with pacers at a time which was clearly would have been better if he would have gone for spinners, because Mossadegh Hussain had considered just 5 runs in his first 2 overs, picked up a wicket. He did not continue with him. And also,
Hmm.
I think their early struggle with the against the spin is another huge concern for Bangladesh, because they struggled against Mujibur Rahman in the power plays. Tomorrow they will have to face Thikshana in the power plays, because I am
Yeah,
pretty sure that Sri Lanka are going to bring in Thikshana early on in the power play, having seen
Hmm.
how the Bangladesh team struggled against Afghanistan. And also, they have a like-to-like replacement for Rashid Khan. We can all call him like-to-like replacement, Wanindu Hasaranga. So I
Hmm.
think these are the two players that you have to really look out for if you are in the Bangladesh camp, and you have to play
Hmm.
out these 8 overs very carefully. If you
Very
manage
true.
to play these 8 overs out, I feel that they'll have if they don't give away too many wickets in these 8 overs, I think Bangladesh can pull off an upset tomorrow. I mean, Sri Lanka are the favorites heading
Hmm.
into the game. But I definitely feel that if they can somehow counter these 8 overs of spin from Thikshana and Wanindu Hasaranga, Bangladesh will be a force to reckon with. For that, you have to make a way for somebody like Shabbir Rahman. You have to take out Anamul Haq and give way for Shabbir
Yeah.
Rahman to come in at number 5. Or probably open the innings or open with Mehdi Hassan Miraz. I probably feel he's a very good option to open for Bangladesh as well. Anybody apart from the middle order strength that they have, Muhammadullah, Mushfiqur Rahim, Shakib Al Hassan. This should be your number
Mm.
5, 4, and 3 respectively.
Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
can open with any other batsman. You can open with Afif Hussain and Mohammad Naeem. You can open with Mosaddiq Hussain and Mohammad Naeem. You can open with Mehdi Hassan
Mm.
Miraj.
And
And
I
if you are
would really
bringing in
have
Shabir Ahmed,
I'd really have Mehdi Hassan opening the batting because of he adds a
yeah.
different kind of variety and even he should be given that free hand to just go out there and take the game on. And
And if
right
we
now
talk
you have
about the yeah, and if we talk
yeah,
about the Sri Lankan team, I definitely think one change they have to make.
Gunatilaka, right?
Gunatilaka will have to
Yeah,
make way for because they have players like you have to understand they have players like Dhananjay De Silva and Dinesh Chandimal, very experienced players waiting in
you know
the
what's gonna happen
yeah.
tomorrow? Gunatilaka is gonna play one of those knocks like Sandeepani, one of the fan banters. He said that Hasaranga and Liam Livingston are two players who you should be not having in your fantasy team. When Sandeepani really puts out on a player who telling them they should be dropped, they go on to do well. So I
No,
think
but I
tomorrow.
mean, then Gunathilaka should definitely be thankful towards me because I have been very critical about his performance for at least 3, 4 months now, and still he hasn't improved in the T20I format. I
Yeah.
mean, it's sad to
Sandeepani
see.
hasn't been really critical about Virat Kohli's performance. That's why he was struggling all this while. Virat Kohli be really ringing up Sandeepani later today and be like, मेरे बारे में भी कुछ बोलो यार मेरे को टीम में
No,
सेटअप
but
करो.
but I
I mean, he
definitely
has
feel
said
because
that he did not like Virat Kohli's innings today, so you might see a new Virat Kohli against the next in
Yeah, I
Super.
no, no,
mean,
I did not say I did not like Virat Kohli's innings today. I said I did not like Virat Kohli and KL Rahul both playing to rotate, like both rotating the strike in between overs from overs from 6 to 10. I think they did not uh, go for the attack. They were not looking to score boundaries. They were just looking to rotate the strike in between
yeah,
overs 6 to 10. After over 10, Virat Kohli and KL Rahul both decided to go after the bowling. Yeah,
true,
I
true.
just did not like that phase between the thing. But Sri Lanka, you have to understand, Gunatilaka has been opening for Sri Lanka in T20 internationals, and
Mm,
you have to and you have to understand that Gunatilaka is playing at number 4 for Sri Lanka.
mm,
Playing at number 4 for Sri Lanka is taking a spot away from players like Dinesh Chandimal, who is making a comeback, who was phenomenal in the series against Australia, and Dhananjay De Silva, who has had very consistent performances in the past year.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think Pathum Nisanka is a player that is going to hold the key for Sri Lanka tomorrow because
absolutely.
Charit Asalanka, Rajapaksha are sort of players who can give you those cameo knocks, 40, 50 runs of 20, 25 balls. These players can go after the bowling right from ball one. Pathum Nisanka is that sort of a player who will hold one end and he'll play for like he Abel Jaden was mentioning that Sri Lanka does not have a player that can play for the entirety of 15 or 20 overs. I think Pathum Nisanka is that player. He proved himself in the series against Australia in Australia when Sri Lanka were touring Australia. He was the leading run scorer for Sri Lanka. He was uh, getting those runs, and he has been very consistent since then. He averages close to 30 in the T20I format, which is good. His strike rate is not that great, but Sri Lanka has players like Rajapaksha, Asalanka to cover up, and players and all rounders like Shanaka to come in and sort of whatever deficit that they are having in the run rate, they can fill it up. So I think early on you have to build the innings, and Pathum Nisanka is a player that will help to build the innings. And
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
I was just looking at a very interesting stat. I don't know why I was looking at 2018 Asia Cup, but in 2018 Asia Cup we had the same format. It was India, Pakistan, Hong Kong in one league, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh in the other league. India, Pakistan qualified from one end, and you had Afghanistan and Bangladesh both beating Sri Lanka in the other end.
I mean, don't be
I don't know why I
surprised if
said
that
that.
happens as well. I mean,
Yeah,
and in that for the liking in that particular Asia Cup, Pakistan did not play in the final as well. Bangladesh did get one over
yeah,
Pakistan.
it was
So
India and Bangladesh. Yeah,
and remember, even in that 2016 Asia Cup, Bangladesh did go on to win against Pakistan there as well. So for Pakistan fans, it's not a good side if that's going to be the case. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to be one of the most competitive Asia Cup for after many years as well.
Yeah.
We are going to be ending our live right here. It was great to have you all. I know we've already gone to next day, and we're going to be having a new game today. Before that, I'll take some last questions regarding Fakar Zaman. As someone asked about Fakar Zaman, we've already addressed it yesterday. Fakar Zaman should bat at number 3 because of his ability to play spin. And right now, Rizwan and Babar has done nothing wrong. One game shouldn't really put them down as a team. And also, these guys are cute. Can relate from friends talking about cricket. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we totally agree that we are having good chemistry, and we definitely would like to continue that as well. The maintain the good chemistry, like to pull each other's leg, and And yeah, we like to be professional as well. Sandeepan is definitely not a Panoti, he's a reverse psychologist.
I think
He's
it's
a
more
strong
like,
coach.
Sandipani's blessings. Because
Yeah,
Panathi
this
is
is called
supposed to be
Sandeepani.
the reverse.
This
It just
Sandeepani, Baba
happened in that
Sandeepani.
one game I said Hasaranga would not work, he worked. But you have to also take into account, I said tonight, yesterday live, I said Babar Hayat is the player to watch out for from Hong Kong. He was the leading run scorer from Hong Kong.
He
No,
was
so
the only
that's the
We have
leading
to
run
point,
consider
scorer
right?
for
that
Hong
When you
fact
Kong.
as
say
well.
It is
something,
like picking out a team and he's like one best player is that definitely is going to do well. Of course. और कौन खेलेगा मतलब?
No, no,
It is
you
like,
guys went with Nizakat Khan, who had
okay,
a
let's see
terrible
who
game tonight.
Sandeepani predicts for tomorrow's win. Yeah, like who's going to be the man of the match.
I said for Sri Lanka it is going to be Pathum Nisanka is
So
the
you're just saying Sri Lanka are going to win the
for
match?
Bangladesh. I think
No. Tell
definitely
me who's
when
going to win the
Shakib Al
match.
Hasan
One
is
man of the
playing.
match, man. One man of the match. Who's going to be man of the match?
Uh, Shakib Al Hasan.
And who's going to be the worst performer?
I definitely think Guna Tilaka.
And
If
yeah,
he plays,
sure.
if
You
Guna
were
Tilaka
just
plays at
coming,
number
man.
4, I think he'll.
I
yeah, I
think
think
it's going
I
to
once
be
think that
one.
will be
Sanjay
a
Love
mistake from
starts
Sri Lankan
loving a
management,
player,
and yeah, and that will not justify the selections of Dinesh Chandimal and Dhananjay De Silva if you are not playing them in the middle order. If
Absolutely.
Gunatilaka plays, at least open the innings with him. No, don't play
Absolutely.
him at number 4, number 5.
Yeah, truly. Having said that, guys, it was wonderful to take all your questions today. I know we've already gone for 1 hour, and we would, and people are asking for more, and we don't feel like now 1 hour feels like a very early stream, but then we'll be
Yeah.
ending right here. Thank you all for joining. It was great to take all your questions. It was a great victory for India. India are into the Super Fours. And just to remind, tomorrow is a knockout game between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and day after tomorrow is a knockout game in Hong Kong and Pakistan. So exciting days ahead. Then Super Four starts on Saturday, and maybe most likely it's going to be India Pakistan on Sunday again. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining. And do guys remember to play the fantasy contest with Boom 11. This is your opportunity to make your team right now. And as I mentioned, there's an interesting contest which is going on with Boom 11 as well. This is your opportunity to make your team and be a part of the raffle draw as well. You have to make 5 teams during the course of the Asia Cup, and you'll be a part of a raffle draw where you can get a chance to win 2 grams worth gold coin. So do not miss out on that opportunity. Get onto the app right now, make your team, and also do remember we're going to be there every night after every game as well to keep you people entertained, and all your love and all your comments. It's wonderful to take it all, and it's a lot of fun as well because you keep on asking some really quirky questions as well. I love the superhero part today, like the way how you have termed us superhero. So we'd like you all to come back and show us the same kind of love. Take care. Good night.
Good night, guys.